The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
This week on the Defy Life Podcast, we take a deeper dive into When They See Us. We talk about the death of Bushwick Bill. We talk some NBA Finals and the Kevin Durant injury. And as always, we'll answer some listener questions and wrap things up with some trivia. Let's get to it. Yeah, that's what it is. I guess we gotta do it then. You alright? Check. Pool. Out. Money. West Coast. Let's get it. Strap in, let's take a ride. Oh yeah, it's about that time, right? Been waiting all week to get to this. It's finally time to defy life. Let's chop it up, keep it trail, no other way. That's what we do. We might disagree, but it's all love. Guarantee we gon' speak the truth. Yeah, this hit different. My guys with me now. Who's with us? Stick around for a few minutes. It's contagious. You'll get it. You downloaded the realest. Don't feel us, but get out. You not rocking with Defy Life, then what's your life about? I ain't never done nothing for you. Told you. On to the show. Huh? I'm gonna let this ride out though. This is the Defy Life. Welcome back to the Defy Life Podcast, powered by the Defy Life Podcast Network. This episode is sponsored by Bud Bottles, home of the Bud Bottle and the Bud Freshener. Please visit budbottles.com for your odor eliminating needs. Thank you for listening. You can find us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, GoDefyLife.com, and everywhere your favorite podcasts are available. As always, we encourage you to like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating whenever you listen. You can also find us on all social media platforms at Go Defy Life. This is episode 111, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, J.R. Glymph. Joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Thomas Stevens, Alvin Glymph, West Coast J. How's it going today, Pooh?
Man, what's poppin', gentlemen? It's going well. Can't complain. Trying to make moves. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for asking. Al, what's good, baby?
Man, it's above me, bro. It's above me.
It's above me. All right.
I actually had a chance to use it this week, so I felt good as shit. I threw that out there, and I'm laughing inside. I'm the only one in the room who just like realized I cracked a hell of a funny. I'm like, I wish my co-host was in the room because I just threw it for the first time. Man, come on, man, it's above me, yo.
Oh man, that's great. That is awesome.
Man, that's all I can tell you. It's above me.
Hey.
And they're like, I'm just laughing like a bug inside. So I'm doing good, enjoying life. Great to be here, and looking forward to the show.
Awesome. West Coast Jay, what's good with you?
Man, I'm over here holding on like a hubcap in the fast lane. You know, maintaining, cooling out like a fan in the breeze. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, shout out to Money. Money's on the chain gang tonight, so he can't join us. So shout out to you, Money. I hope they let you go soon, son.
For Money, real quick, then it's still 2 for Tuesdays. You know, the real is at work. You feel me?
Right.
You know, but how you doing this week, Jay? How you doing?
and Money, don't go asking nobody why you got to work on a Tuesday night, because what they gonna tell them, Al? It's above me.
Above me, yo. It's above me. I'm just saying, it's above me, bro.
It's above me.
Do what you got to do, but it's above me.
Right. Oh man. Well, yeah. So, thanks for the always reliable Money impersonation. Always make us feel like at least he's here for 6 seconds. So, shout out to Money. Before we get started, want to do some house cleaning really quick as usual. We got a new Patreon this week, and it's no one other than the man, the myth, the legend, the almighty Miggs is now a patron of Defy Life. So shout out to Miggs, man. Bit of a surprise. Didn't say we was going to do it. So salute to you, Miggs. Thanks for supporting us and supporting yourself. So that's pretty dope. You know, man, investing in what he believe in. So appreciate you, Miggs. Your Defy Life Patreon care package is in the mail, per Kimberly Cannon. So salute again. And
work, Miggs.
No doubt. And also, wanted to let everybody know that the Pride Month T-shirts are available on DefyLifeGear.com. So definitely check them out. We got the black and white shirts, black shirts, the white shirts with the Pride logo, with the rainbow logo. So check it out. They dope. Yeah. I actually got one for my son first. He got an award at school for being the most open-minded kid in the 6th grade, voted on by the teachers, and he wanted to wear he wanted to get Defy Life rainbow colors to support Pride Month. So I got that for him. Everybody was digging it. Kim started asking could she get one. Money wanted one. So I was like, I'm just going to put them on the site. So they are out there for everybody that wants.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
No doubt.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have I feel like a preacher when I say this. I ain't got a whole lot of gospel for you today. But
you know they be lying when they say that.
Right.
That's the warning.
You gonna miss
the warning.
Yeah.
Say that.
That's yeah.
She's gonna be here at 3:00.
Right. You gonna miss the whole 1:00 game if they say that shit. They say that, you might as well strap in to the third quarter.
Hello. It's a wrap.
Especially because I remember as a kid, like getting excited when they said that, like, "Word, I'm gonna get home in time for the game." Next thing you know, you look up, it's 2:30, and your mama don't want to leave. Man,
dang, what happened? You didn't have nothing to say.
Right? You ain't got no new gospel. We got a whole lot of old gospel, right? I don't know what's going on. So, I promise y'all, unless money come and get long-winded, we ain't gonna be on here long. So, but now we gonna jump right into some news and entertainment. So last week we kind of touched on When They See Us. This was right after it came out, and so want to give everybody a chance to watch it, process it, digest it, and we talked more about the actual Central Park 5. Al was actually at you experienced it, being in the city and during that time frame. So, Al, did you get a chance to watch it?
I only watched half of it, honestly. I couldn't do more than those two the day I did, and really just haven't got back to watch it yet.
Right.
Because it was pretty emotional. So, right. I mean, we watched the first one. I watched it with my wife. Watched the first one, and then we kind of looked at each other like, "You think you want to do another one? Like, I will if you will. All right, let's do it again. Let's buckle up and all right." And we did the second one, and after the second episode, it was like, all right, that's enough. That's enough. Right. And we'll come back. That's enough. All right.
Okay. All right. Jay, I know you say you watched the first episode so far, right?
Yeah, man. I only got through the first episode, man. It was by the end of it, like I was over there feeling like Liam Neeson. Like I hated all white women names. The name started with an L. It was, you feel me? It wasn't cool. Like I started angry and ended up racist. Like it wasn't cool. It was just that first episode was. I had to watch cartoons. I had to get out of that mindset immediately because it was like, man, this is heavy. Like Ava did a great job pulling on heartstrings or igniting fires or whatever it is that she was attempting to do. Like the one thing I did do afterwards, though, after I watched the first one, if you keep scrolling through the episodes in Netflix, down at the bottom, there's one that's like 6 minutes long, and it basically is like her outlining what she was trying to accomplish with this. Right. And I have to go ahead and say that she accomplished it for me in just an hour and 3 minutes.
Right.
Like it was, she did it's almost done too well. It's a little too good. Cause man, like by the end of it, I was just, I was mad.
Yeah.
It was like watching Rosewood, watching Roots. Like I was mad.
Yeah, man, it's heavy. Pooh, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, I caught it. I got a whisper, yo, because supposed to watch it with my wife, so she can't hear me talk about it. But
Don't do that.
Right.
Pooh watched it off the record.
But yeah, right.
Unofficial.
Yo,
He allegedly watched it.
Allegedly, right?
A source is checking into that choice. A source is
Right. Let me change my verb. You know, I kinda, you know, I allegedly, you know, I allegedly binged it. You know, I could have sort of kind of been.
You watched it with one of Stephen A. Smith's sources.
There you go.
Right.
One of Adam Schefter people.
Yo, wow.
No, it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Fake news.
See, like I was totally. I mean, I guess from what Al stated, and then the few things that I had remembered, and we started, like, you know, my wife and I, we started watching it, so I caught maybe the first 15 minutes of it, and you know, you instant where it's going. You know, it's about to be one of these again. However, it's true. You know, it's a 100% true story. So it, I mean, it of course is just it's wild, and like, see, I'm able to watch movies and I'm able to put myself inside of the movie, you know. So of course it took me all over the place, roller coasters. But I guess as soon as the movie was over, you know, I was able to do what those you know, the five weren't able to do. You know, I could let it go and release it. You know, but of course those can't, because it happened to them. Right. So
yeah, man, like they that 6-minute thing at the end, like they kind of talk to each of them for a couple of moments in the little, I guess it was an elongated trailer, a long trailer. And to hear what they say, they're all so positive now.
Right.
Like, you know, like they're like, man, I'm a survivor. You know, I've been through this. I'm trying to bring awareness to people that, you know, the system it's a system designed to set us up, and, you know, but we can still overcome, and we can still, like, they're all so positive. And so that's about the only thing that I can say, that if I'm going to continue watching it, is that I know that at the end of it, after all that they've been through, that they're still stand-up dudes. Like, they're still standing.
Right. Yeah, and I guess, like, the thing that helps is that their story did become so public, and they were well compensated for. Well, I don't even say well compensated. They were compensated, because it ain't no amount of money in the world that can compensate me equally for 15 years of my life. But they were compensated, so they were put in a position where they could, you know, they can help other people. They can resume their lives. And so think about all the people who that happens to that don't. Their stories aren't public. They never get compensated, and they are just left left hanging. And, you know, so this ain't gonna sound right, but it's a lot easier to be positive when you're a millionaire after that.
No, that makes sense to me. Like, I understand that, because they did make a little bit of a reference to the thousands of cases that did not end up in the public eye, the people that are still wrongfully incarcerated.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, they did, what was it, a record $41 million settlement, and then I think in 2016 they were compensated another $3.6 million. So, you know, and of course that comes out of taxpayer money, which is always bullshit. But, you know, it's. And I don't want to speak too much, because I'm trying to get my MIGs on and be spoiler free here, as far as the actual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
gotcha.
But Al, you said.
Let me say this. I think two takeaways, I guess, from this last week. One has been that, as I've kind of witnessed on social media, as well as talked to some of my good friends, how similar to kind of what I expressed last week similar experiences and people sharing like how it's taken them back to that time. So like that I've just people I grew up with and were also there at the time. That's interesting. I think the other thing that I kind of have taken away, and I don't want to spoil it too much either, is just that as you have these conversations, as people try to place blame 30 years later,
right.
and you know, it has, you know, to be in conversations where people are blaming, you know, parents, blaming the children themselves, or on the other side, only blaming the prosecutors.
Yeah. Like,
it's a lot of people to blame, and it's unfortunate that we get into these conversations where we are today, that it's this side or that side, or what the truth usually is, it's a little of all combined, right? It's not just one. And I think the other thing we just got to remember is that was 30 years ago.
Yes.
And so much has changed about who we are as a society and the people. So it's like to look back and hold people 30 years ago to our what we know now, how we understand the law, how we understand race, how we understand law enforcement is just very different from what was really happening 30 years ago. And I just think we got to remember that.
Yeah, and I say the same thing. And for one, I do agree absolutely that, you know, it's not a like this zero-sum game where it's either it's all on one person or nothing. So it's like you said, there's a lot of blame to go around. I would say like a lot of the malicious like intent was from the prosecutors and the cops, but a lot of ignorance and a lot of just, you know, an ignorance in the true sense of just not knowing from the parents and of course the kids. They were young. But the jury exactly, and the public, and, you know, and the public. Correct. But I'll say this: you mentioned 30 years ago, and somebody said something around when they were just talking about the first episode, and they were like, "I was trying to figure out where were the parents? How did they not know where they kid?" 30 years ago, we didn't have cell phones.
Hello.
We didn't have social media. We didn't have ways of contact and being in constant contact with your kids. And so I remember 30 years ago when I could be gone for from sun up to sundown. My parents would have no clue where I was. And I would come home and they'd be cool with it because there's no way they would know where I am unless they called around the neighborhood, figure out where it was at. But that was just the way times were back then. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of us, and when I say us, I mean black folks, we wouldn't have knowledge of our rights that we do now if it weren't for social media. And if it weren't for being able to have it in your palm at all times.
Correct.
So,
and we still don't know.
And a lot of us still don't know. Exactly.
We still don't know the rules of the game.
Yes. And so that's my issue, is to put the blame on the parents like they were just shitty parents. No, they were just parents in the 80s. That's how shit was. You know, like we rode in the back of pickup trucks and, you know, like it was that, no seat belts and, you know, people smoking around. Like that was just the time. This how things were. So you didn't know where your kids were at all times.
I also want to remind people that those parents were, you know, you're talking about 80s. These are people in their 40s and 50s.
Right.
So 30s. They grew up in the 30s, 40s, 50s. So they grew up in segregation. They grew up in the rise of the Klan, Emmett Till, civil rights. So to many people of color at that time, if you were a middle-aged person of color, the police were one step below the Klan.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when that institution makes a threat to you and says, yo, if you see your son leave here tonight, here's what you got to do, A, B, C, D. as a parent, like how we look at it, we like, well, when the officer says if your kid wants to leave tonight, we thinking, oh, is he gonna leave with you and ride in the car?
Right.
A parent 30 years ago might think if you want your child to leave here tonight, they think survive.
Right.
They think
alive.
Correct. You know what I mean? If you don't get this confession out your kid, we're gonna lynch him in the back. That's how things was going in when, to their understanding of police.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's real. We gotta be careful when we make statements like that, judgmental statements.
And I'll say this, and when you're dealing with like a certain faction, like you said, that age range of people who grew up in a certain time, black folks who grew up in a certain period in this country, and a certain demographic, socioeconomically, especially in the 80s, for one, you don't have, those tools weren't passed down to you. And so you're not equipped to handle those situations to no fault of your own, because in the true sense of ignorance, again, what you don't know, you don't even know you don't know it. All right? And so to be an end to like homeboy who, Michael K. Williams' character, who, he said he had a good job and the cops started threatening his job. Like, when you start to like accomplish something in life and feel like you have a stable job and your family's good, like, you'll do anything to protect your family. And I'm speaking from that perspective of like somebody who hadn't had nothing their entire life, somebody who's done time and know that this may be their last opportunity to actually like make something of their life. And when a police officer starts threatening you with your son's life, ain't no telling what you'll do and what you'll say to get your son out of that situation and get yourself out of that situation. So like you said, Al, before we cast judgment, and because we're looking at it from the advantages that we have today, and Al, we've had this a text conversation with a cousin of ours who I invited on the show, and you decided not to show up because you claimed you were shy. So now that you can't rebuttal this, I'm gonna say everything I wanted to say. But we can't look at it from the perspective of one, we were, and I'm speaking we, and I mean our family, we were blessed to have, all 2-parent households with parents who had pretty decent jobs and come from good homes, and so for us to, and in the time that we grew up in, so to look at someone who didn't have all those advantages and judge them for what they don't know, it's short-sighted to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and
short-sighted.
it's also, I think, to assume and just believe that your parents would not make that same decision or a similar decision because you're looking at them 30 years later in terms of who they are as people as well as who you are as a person. Right. I think it's, again, that's real suspect, because what I do know is that many of my elders, as I've gotten older and we've had conversations about race, some of their perspective and how they see the world is kind of crazy to me, right? Yeah. But I gotta understand that, these people grew up at a very, very different time. They see white folks real different than I do.
Absolutely.
And I get that, and I respect that, and we've kind of learned together over that time period. Right. So, like, I don't know how they would have reacted if put in a situation where it's like, Alvin's life is on the line, and if you want him to live, you better get him to admit to A, B, C, and D. Right. What you gonna do?
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to y'all watching the rest of it, and even though basically know the outcome, it's to see exactly what and for them Jay, you said, Ava had a vision of what she wanted to accomplish with this project, and she absolutely did. But with that, when people do that with movies or television series or miniseries, documentary, usually there's some kind of dramatization that goes along with that. But to hear each one of those guys say that this is the first time our entire story has been told, meaning that they approved of that message that she gave, speaks volumes, because the shit that they went through, especially my man Corey Wise, the shit that they had to go through, and to realize that they watched that film and say, yep, and they signed off on all of it, and they were part of everything in it.
Yeah, they were sitting in director's chairs next to her as consultants, like they were there.
Yeah, and so, and for her to say that, Linda Fairstein, the prosecutor, tried to negotiate with her, she would allow to be in the movie, was bullshit. That lady has no accountability at all.
Dude, that lady is. I was reading something over the weekend that lady has been basically blackballed. She's trying to sell books. Right. They're not letting her anymore. And it's all
her publishers dropped her.
And it's all as a result of the fact that everybody seen this and was like, "Oh, that was you?"
Right. Yeah.
Yo, it's above me. You can't.
Yeah.
We ain't got nothing for you no more, huh? Yeah. No. Yeah. No. You trying to sell that? Nah, we not here.
Yeah.
No.
So she'll die broken, lonely, and
karma took a while to catch her, but it's caught her.
Right.
It has caught her. All of her sins have come to light.
Yeah. So, it'll I guarantee y'all are gonna enjoy and suffer through at the same time the rest of this series. It's good that it speaks a lot for the work itself, that it touches you to a point where it's that hard to watch, but it's absolutely worth it. Looking forward to.
I only wish, and hopefully, as we continue to discuss it, share it, promote it, that white people watch it. And I say that because I was at a recent meeting and a conversation with another organization. They happened to be two white people. Mm-hmm. And we just happened to get on a conversation of race, and we all agreed that we need to talk more about it. Like, that's something that is will help our society. So I'm like, I wonder, had y'all seen this new movie, this documentary, When They See Us? And the older gentleman had never even heard of it. The younger white woman had, and said she was going to watch it, but it was still like, I think I heard of that. Right. But then as I described it and talked about it, she was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely want to watch it. But it's just amazing. It still amazes me sometimes where things that can be so relevant and important to our community just flies under their radar. And this is something that they need to watch.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, this is one of the times you need the Kyle Korvers of the world to actually take the time.
Right.
Like, it's not. This is one of those times where this simple action will enlighten. It'll open up their eyes in a way that they could not have imagined. Mm-hmm. Because for most of them, that idea of what happened is not something that would ever have happened to them, their family, their kids.
Correct.
Right. And there's something that a lot of them still want to deny happens to anybody. Because the first thing they say is, I want to see, we got to wait for the entire story. or we got to, you can't just judge it based off part of this video. What happened before this? So to watch that entire story, you would hope that someone would come from this thinking, damn, this shit really happens. I mean, it's been happening for a while. But you're right. Like, more than just us have to watch this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we literally need them to all see us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But our second topic in entertainment, man, we lost another icon in hip hop. One third of the, I won't say the original Ghetto Boys, because it's been if the original Ghetto Boys has had a long line in getting to what we know as the Ghetto Boys, but the original Ghetto Boys from a mainstream standpoint, Bushwick Bill passed away at the age of 52 yesterday from pancreatic cancer. When we say icons in hip hop, like I say iconic because there are certain people in hip hop who you can flash their picture, you can hear their voice, you can play the first 8 bars of the beat to any one of their songs or hit songs, and you immediately know who they are. And Bushwick Bill is iconic in that sense. For one, he was a little person. Is that the politically correct way to say it now? But he was a little.
He was a dwarf. I think the word is actually dwarf.
But yeah, I know a lot of them don't like to say dwarf or midget. They like little person. I don't know, but either way, he's one of those. One of them. But that's what he was known for initially, and of course, my mind's playing tricks on me. That's like the staple of what people know the Ghetto Boys for in his verse. Like, Jay, what does even that song, like, just my mind playing tricks on me? Like, I remember the first time I heard that song, and I remember, I was a kid when it came out, but I remember being scared that, like, I would play my radio, I'd play music at night when I slept, and I'd be scared when that shit came on at night, just because it was
that makes sense.
It was an eerie song, but I couldn't stop listening to it. What is that song itself? What do you think it did for hip hop, especially in that era, and especially for like Texas in that era?
Yeah, all I know is that every year Halloween falls on a weekend. I'll be contemplating trick or treating, robbing little kids for bags. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bushwick was, that verse in itself was, the whole song overall was, it was eerie. Yeah. More so than anything else. Like, the song just sort of had a vibe of what's going on. It was kind of like a better version of Tales from the Hood. Right. Like with the horror background and the like something that Jordan Peele would have imagined back in the day. It was but Bushwick himself, like, when you say iconic, his diminutive stature was kind of what made him such an iconic image. Right. And then, like, that was still the era where videos were out. So when I saw the Ghetto Boys video, it was like, wait a minute. That's the dude that's rapping right now? Oh, yeah. That would trip me out a little bit. You got this little one-eyed dude, a little bitty one-eyed dude, running around scaring little kids.
Yeah, and that was the time when CDs were still out. So that album cover with them, that was actually a real picture of when his girlfriend shot him in the eye.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
They were going into the hospital. So that was actually, it was a real picture. So, like when videos, so the imagery of music was just bigger back then.
Yeah, that's much is true. Music was way more visual then than it is now. Like, now it's a different kind of visual because everybody's got Instagram. So it's a different kind of visual. Like, you get to see your favorite artist eating breakfast. You get to see, you know what I'm saying? But back then, when we saw our favorite artists, it was either in concert or on MTV or on BET or on, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was the only place that we could see
Right.
And so to see Bushwick, like his image is always going to be etched in my mind. There's nothing that I can do to remove it.
Right.
No matter how grotesque, because that image was grotesque. That album cover was grotesque.
Right.
And so, but I'm never going to be able to get rid of it.
Right.
And then see, in the Bay Area, where like we didn't really, it was us in the South as far as we were concerned. Mm-hmm. Like that West Coast, East Coast beef, like we didn't mess with New York.
Right.
But the South was kind of always just everybody messed with the South. Mm-hmm. Like they were like they kind of ended up becoming the bridge in a couple of different ways.
Right.
Like Houston, the Rap-A-Lot Records was basically back and forth between the Bay and Houston. Right. And so like all of us knew about the UGKs, the Ghetto Boys, the Scarfaces, because they would also be the ones that was guest starring on or guest rapping on 40 songs.
Right.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, they would show up in places that we'd be like, wait, how y'all know them? But, so the hip-hop scene in itself, that part of it, like, that was basically what opened up more of the country to me. Yeah. Is that it gave me the South. And there was always something that I'd be able to relate to. And then talking to people from back east, whenever I would meet them, and we'd start talking hip hop, like we would argue for hours, Pac, Biggie, whatever, argue for hours. But if they brought up the South, it was kind of like neutral ground. We was always like, yeah, I mess with UGK. It's true. Right. Pimp C be busted. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know. Like I fuck with the Ghetto Boys, Scarface is kind of one of the most underrated, almost always shows up just outside everybody's top 5, top 10. People be like, oh yeah, you know what? You know who I forgot? Scarface. Like, you did. Right. Because Scarface was ill in himself. But, you know, rest in peace, Bushwick. Prayers to your family, all the et ceteras. Yeah. But, yeah, man, you were truly an icon. Right. Truly an icon of diminutive stature.
Absolutely. So, Pooh.
Yeah.
Question for you. So if you were to go into any public place, a grocery store, a movie theater, and you had to say one line, and everybody in this building had to respond to you with the following line. If you walk, how many buildings do you think you would actually have to go into if you said this year Halloween fell on the weekend before you get to a building when nobody knew what comes next?
Oh man. I guess I don't know, man. Wow. That's a tough question, Jay. But I don't think you'll get through two, because even if you're in there with individuals that you think may not know it, they may know it.
I can guarantee you, it's if it's like, I mean, granted, it's gonna probably be a bunch of, you know, in a movie theater, it's gonna be a bunch of 15, 16-year-olds who have no idea what you're saying.
Right.
But even if there's a lot of 40, 45.
Oh, they definitely know.
Even if it's white dudes.
Exactly.
Like, they gonna know what comes next. Like,
they gonna know it.
Yeah.
They definitely gonna know. And I do want to just hint at, like, his verse, man. It was, you know, personification at his best. It's like he breathed life. He like into the words. Like, before I even saw the video, I could visualize any and everything that he said. Mm-hmm. And once I saw the video, I was just in awe. You know, I was like, wow. You know, that's just absolutely bananas. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Al, like, for somebody who grew up in, like, in that time, like, you know, New York was still, like, running hip hop at that point. How much would y'all, like, in general, the South, the West Coast, how much was your circle, like the people around you, how much were y'all really willing to give? And I've had this conversation with Chris Cooper a few times, and I always tell him, I always tell Chris he uses New York as a measuring stick. It's that New York, ego when it comes to hip hop, and rightfully so. But how much were y'all willing to give the West Coast and down south rappers a chance?
At when this song is out?
Yeah, at that time. Yeah. Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, honestly, this is early 90s. Like, cause I'm just getting down to Atlanta for graduate school.
Wow.
And, I'm coming down here. We were still saying NWA was niggas with activators. We gave them no love. I mean, we would like, Young MC was Bum MC. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how we were referring to the artist, just out of disrespect. But this song, though, what is so dope about this song and this group is that it is one that caught our attention and started to break the ice to where it was, you was bumping it in the car, you was dancing to it in the club, you was, giving the video some love. And so to me, like, when I think about my evolution when it comes to music, I'm not really open to Southern artists to Outkast. And I probably was 3 albums late on Outkast. That's how long I'm still mushing anybody who ain't from New York City. Like, man, whatever. I ain't giving y'all no love. But this is so I usually look at Outkast as when, that's when I flipped. But, his death reminded me that it was this song, though, that got me start opening my ears, and just the crack began to like, stop being, I was rocking to that. So shout out to, rest in peace. But when you say iconic, I'm looking at them, to me also, they're icon because they were game changers. And they really started, me to at least listen to some folk.
To acknowledge.
That they exist. There is hip hop outside New York somewhere.
Yeah, we're gonna have to like dedicate like probably an entire show to this, because this like that topic of, because I reluctantly have this conversation with my wife every now and then, who's raised in the Bronx, of how and why New York was no longer the epicenter of hip hop, and why it's continued to be that way for a while. But I would love to get like everybody's perspective on that, and even if you don't agree with it, and we probably have to, because that's going to be a heavy conversation. We got to have it though. But yeah, man. Again, rest in peace to Bushwick. Shout out to Scarface and Willie D. Again, icons, and it always reminds me that I'm getting old, man. When our icons start dying, so sad day in hip hop.
Yeah, for real. 52.
Like, just young, and cancer is one of them things that
don't matter the age.
Right, cancer is cancer, but 52 is young.
Yeah,
cancer has blatant disregard for life.
Right,
blatant, no respect.
Yep.
None.
All right.
So, again, like that was 91, and like Al said, it's like I could echo that sentiment because we wasn't fucking with New York in the Bay, but I know they wasn't fucking with us. It was what it was, but that song in particular, no matter.
Yeah, easily.
Welcome to the Anything, Everything, and Nothing podcast with Lynn and Kim. Join us as we discuss the latest in everything from entertainment and current events to the craziness that is our real life.
Let's laugh, let's live, let's talk about it. New episode every Tuesday on the Defy Life Podcast Network. And remember, if you're not defying life, then what are you doing? Lynn and Kim.
And welcome back to episode 111 of the Defy Life Podcast. That was our sisters, Lynn and Kim. If anything, everything, and nothing, you'll definitely check them out. They are hilarious. But yeah, it's J.R. Glymph, joined by Alvin Glymph, Thomas Stevens, and West Coast Jay. We left off giving our shout outs to the Ghetto Boys and our rest in peace to Bushwick Bill. We're going to jump into some listener questions. So our first question is from Kevin in Winston-Salem, who I actually know, who started listening to the show. And he had a question for me, and it was interesting because he has a kid who, I don't know if his son or daughter's older, but he has a kid who's 17, and then he just had another one. So he was just talking about his perspective, of being a father at two different points of his life. So he was asking me that question, and I said, we're going to have to answer this on the show. So shout out to you, Kevin. So Kevin wants to know, Al, I'll start with you. What does fatherhood mean to you at this stage of your life? And I'll thought about you because this should be interesting because you are just entering a different stage of fatherhood. So.
Right. Shout out to him. Like that's heroic.
Right.
That's what's up. I just think for me, raising kids is for the young.
Right.
So that's not something that I would look to embark on at this point in my life. So shout out to y'all because we need good kids and good parents and all of that. Yeah. So to me, because my kids are young adults, and I am kind of middle-aged. To me, fatherhood is about more coaching now. It's about I think about legacy. What's his name? Meth had a song, like resurrect the God through birth, and so I just kind of look at me passing who I am and seeing my kids manifest who they are, but so much of them is me. So It's kind of cool to kind of see like the blossoming, and that's kind of what fatherhood is for me now. So it's kind of it's not as intense, because they are living their own lives, and so fatherhood is for me more removed from the day-to-day looking after somebody like it has been in the past when they were younger. I also think about what fatherhood is for me now is I don't take for granted the role I've played in other individuals' lives as well at this point in my life. So I recognize, because people have shared it with me, like, yo, so you're like a father to me. You've been like a father to me, and not just on you were the neighbor who taught me how to tie my shoes, but I lived in your house for a while, so you always, you were like a father then, and you will always be like a father to me. So like, I think fatherhood also, I look at it as we got, there's a lot of fathers who are being surrogate fathers, making up for the missing fathers. And so I see it real big picture now in terms of fatherhood, because I guess I ain't got kids to wipe their ass anymore. I can sit back and think about shit. But I just think there's a duty to being a father, and I think being a father, and maybe because I lost my father at an early age, and there were men who assumed that role and took up the mantle and did their duty. So that's kind of how I also see the world. But I think, a father, as you provide and protect in this world, and you look after some of the missing fathers, We do it because we have to, and there's an honor to it. So as we come up on Father's Day this weekend, that's a great question. I didn't even make the connection. Great question. So shout out to all the fathers, because it's a good place to be, and it's the best thing I've ever done in my life, and it's the one thing I've always known I wanted to do in life. The only thing is be a father. That's the only thing I've always known. Like since I was a little kid, I want to do that.
Wow.
And so, here I am. So great question. Great question.
All right. Pooh, what is father? And you had the complete opposite end of the spectrum. From Al, what does fatherhood mean to you at this point in your life?
I guess at this point right now, I'm like creating pottery. I'm molding it, shaping it, sculpturing it, and I just hope the creation is worthy. I just hope that it's. I just want it to be complete. Or the best that it could be. And number one, I want them to be better than I am. Because that's what any type of parent they want you want your child to be better than you. You don't want them to be exposed to a lot of the things that you were exposed to. So I guess plain and simple at this point, the stage I'm in the teacher stage.
Okay. All right. Jay.
As the resident ain't got no kids, don't want no kids, what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak on my father's influence.
Okay.
And what fatherhood has meant to me from an influential standpoint. The lessons that I got from him, I couldn't have gotten from anyone else.
Gotcha.
Except maybe his father, who was with me for a lot of my life as well. Like, I didn't lose my grandfather until I was in my early 20s.
Gotcha.
So, that in itself was its own blessing, because I got two different perspectives for the same problems. But both perspectives were very, very similar. Like that old saying, the apple don't fall far from the tree. Like, you can see that in my grandfather and my father. It's very, very clear. They were the epitome of gentlemen. They are the epitome of gentlemen. Taught me how to be a man, taught me how to be respectful of women, taught me how to be, like that's so to echo everybody, shout out to all of the fathers out there, like happy Father's Day. I personally have no interest in becoming one of those.
Okay.
The world today, right now, there's too many complications as far as I can see. Because, like, my biggest issue, as for when people always say, well, you don't want no kids, you don't want to deal with legacy. I'm like, I don't think I'd ever have an issue with my kids, but I do have an issue with other people's parents.
Right.
Like, everybody isn't necessarily they don't look at the things the way that you guys just described. They're not necessarily looking at, like, for some people, a father's a sperm donor. For other people, a father is just being a disciplinarian. For other people, a father, you know what I mean? Like, it's just there's not enough. It's different, and there's so many people in the world right now, and so many people that keep making babies, that I just don't necessarily trust that I would be a good addition to those ranks, because I don't like most of the way the other people do it. So fatherhood to me is it was a blessing to have the one that I have. It was a blessing to have the surrogate fathers and the uncles and all of the father figures that I have. But I don't necessarily need to be one.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's it's different. Like I'm at a stage now where I'm kind of in that in between stage. So mine are like entering like preteen stage, and I have two boys. I don't have a daughter, so I don't have to have as much of that balance and soft side that y'all dudes with daughters have to have. So I'm dealing with two rough heads. It's all testosterone running up through here. But being that one about to become a teenager next year, and the other one who's just starting to feel himself and test his boundaries. He's an athlete, so as when they were younger, it was more, I'm at a stage when I'm kind of having to tighten my grip a little, because now they're getting to that age where they were exposed to more. They're going to start testing me more. They're going to start testing their boundaries. Say flippant things to their mother that they shouldn't be saying. Testing her. So I'm at that stage now where they're starting to smell themselves, and they're going to start to test me and think I'm an old man and I can't fuck them up. So I'm having to kind of tighten my grip a little, as opposed to, not as much babying and not as much coddling as it was when they were younger. So it's interesting moving into this stage of it, because it's about, I'm kind of starting to see the men that they are becoming, but they still are still kids, but they're so it's a balance. But damn good question, Kevin, because this part of fatherhood to me is teaching me that there are different stages to this shit. Like this shit it's constantly evolving. So it's interesting. So that was a really good question. And again, I echo you guys' sentiments. Shout out to all the fathers. Happy Father's Day to you, Pooh, to you, Al, Jay, to your dad. I know he listens to the show. So, happy Father's Day to all you gentlemen, because it's one of the most important jobs in the world. So salute you guys who take it seriously, and who put the time, effort, and energy into it that it deserves, and that are interested in seeing what you can create.
Yeah, we'll talk like from the one without children. Like, you guys are one of the most important parts, and you are doing a great job from what I can see. From what I understand, everything that you guys are doing is that you're creating positive people, that you're creating people that are actually helpful to society, as opposed to people that are hurtful to society. So thank you to all of you in particular, you three in particular. Chet Mo from the Skull, what up, Pops?
No doubt.
Hello. And to the fathers,
West Coast Pops is what we'll call your dad.
That's what's up. You'll like that.
For all those fathers out there, take some time to honor and celebrate yourself this weekend too.
Right.
You are worth it.
Yes. And ladies, all that energy you had, demanding what you wanted for Mother's Day, and receiving all the well-deserved gifts and stuff you got for Mother's Day. I want that same energy on Sunday. That man deserves everything that he wants. So, and guys, don't be afraid to ask for it. Don't come with this, oh man, I'm good, I don't want nothing. Nah, if you want something, ask for that shit. You deserve it.
Real thoughts.
So, but again, good question, Kevin. Next question from Robin in St. Paul, Minnesota. Shout out to St. Paul. I didn't know we had listeners in St. Paul. Shout out to Robin. But Robin wants to know, Pooh, I'll start with you. When was the last time you cried, and why?
Wow. That's what Robin want to do?
That's what Robin wanted. That's why I started with you.
In front of all these people, Pooh. In front of all these people.
Why you start with me though?
Yeah,
but,
real man cry. You the realest man I know.
That's real.
Cause you cry a lot.
Hey, That's real. But man, the last time I cried, it probably wasn't that long ago though. The last time I cried, man, this the only thing I could think of, like right offhand. I probably cried like more recent than that, but man, this probably was like last week. I was just thinking, and I was just looking back on my life and where I am now. And on one hand, it was bittersweet. On one hand, I think I've accomplished a lot. However, on the other hand, I just felt like I hadn't done enough. Like I haven't eclipsed enough financially. I don't have my family where I need to have my family, and I just felt like I just wasn't where I needed to be. You know, I haven't reached the status that I needed to stature at the stature that I needed to reach at this point in time as a 40-year-old man. You know, I feel like I should have more of a stranglehold on my life and my finances and what my family had. You know, so that's about it.
That's real. Okay. Jay, when's the last time you cried and why?
Sunday, watching this How They See Us.
Yeah, that'll do it. Understand. So.
Like, real quick. I didn't mean to make that such a quick answer, but that happened.
Right. Perfect timing.
It wasn't cool.
Yeah. Say less.
I mean, like I'm known. Right, I'm saying I'm known to. I'm good at crying in movies. I'm good at that.
Okay.
But I'm also randomly I'll cry at a wedding from time to time. But past that, no, it was legitimately Sunday. That happened.
All right. Al, what about you?
I don't cry in a lot of movies. Just an aside, I do cry in the weirdest scenes of movies. Like it's not the typical scenes. Like, so the last time I actually teared up and was watching Friday Night Lights and I cried, the same scene does it for me all the time. And I'm not talking about the scene where the brother cries.
I know.
That would have been a joke.
Say,
That would have been a joke.
Right.
I wasn't going there because I really do tear up in this one scene, and it's in the locker room. And it's in the last game. And when he gets to that point where he's talking about, and your brother Booby, he would die to be on that field with y'all right now. For some reason, every time I hear that, I tear up. But to answer the question, last time I cried was my mother's birthday, which was June 3rd. So a little more than a week ago.
Right, that's real. All right. Yeah, last time I cried, it's probably about a week ago too. I got a fucking Facebook memories, man. They be getting you. And I wasn't expecting it. And it was a video of Lincoln when he was a baby and crawling down the hallway, and I bust out boohooing, man. It was terrible. But just realizing, that when you're in the midst of parenting, so much, like you said, Al, there's so much like day-to-day stuff that you lose track of the things that you'll never get again. And to see that as him as a baby, and like, especially when you don't like, in times where you don't like go back and look at a lot of stuff from when they were babies, and then you just see it pop up. It got me. But yeah, so probably about a week ago. And that was why, it's just that, it's just, they grow up so damn fast, and that's cliche, but they do. But yeah, but really good question, Robin. I'm hoping you asked that question because you listen and you know that we are in touch with our feelings and we are well evolved. And I hope you wasn't trying to like get some embarrassing stories, but I'm not embarrassed.
Right. I know you weren't trying to play us.
Right.
I know you weren't trying to play us. So.
And you know, if this was if this show was
West Coast Jay, I thought you was gonna say the last time you cried was last night when Durant went down.
Oh.
No, I actually didn't cry. I was hurt, but I didn't cry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't cry. Like, I came close though when not when the GM cried, but when Steph was sitting there trying to do interviews, and you could just see in his face, like, I need to go cry now. Can y'all just let me leave? Like, I need to go cry a little bit. Like, I'm about to. All of the Warriors basically had the epitome of, I'm gonna go cry in the car on their face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of sad.
Yeah, that was tough. Well, we're gonna jump into that now then. But thanks, Robin, Kevin, for your questions. You know, if this
Shout out to Twin Cities.
If this episode was hosted by Money Keon, this probably be a different response to your crying question. If Money and Keon had to tell you that they cried, and Yosh had to tell you that they cried, and on air.
That much is true.
So luckily you picked the right night to ask this question. But yeah, y'all definitely hit us up if you want questions answered, or if you got anything you want to address, or if you just disagree with something we say and you want to get it off your chest. Hit us up on social media at Go Defy Life, or email us at info@godefylife.com. So yeah, y'all talked about, y'all brushed on it. We're gonna jump right into it then. So, Durant's injury. We'll talk about that first. First of all, yes or no answer. And I know now we have the benefit of results, but did you think he should have played last night?
So, me and a homie were having a conversation about this right before, well, not even right before the game, but before the game. He was like, hey, he is playing, he's starting. I was like, all right, I mean, I think that's good. Like, that means the doctors cleared him, but, like, I hope he doesn't do too much. I don't want them to rush him back thinking that, you know, it was a back against the wall situation, and then in the worst kind of foreshadowing ever, I said, and then he do something that injures future Kevin. Because the reality is, like, if we lose this title, whatever, we lost this title. But if we lose one of the best players in the league because he rushed, so that's going to hurt me way more. And
if he tore his Achilles, that's what
they say happened.
Yeah.
And that's what they say happened.
They're never the same.
Well, shout out to West Coast Jay for the longest yes or no answer I've ever heard in my life. But yes or no?
The longest one.
I got
way much of them. Would I have let him play? Yes, I would have let him play because the doctors cleared him.
Okay.
So yes, I would have let him play.
All right, Al, yes or no? Should he have played?
Yes. Yes.
Pooh, should he have played? Yes or no?
Yeah.
All right.
So now getting back to my long ass answer.
Yeah.
And we have hindsight as 2020.
Right, we do. So with that's why I asked that question. So with that, now acknowledging the results that we know, and Jay, you mentioned it. From the perspective of Kevin Durant stays in Golden State, what does that do for them moving forward?
See, the irony is, I wasn't even right. He's done. We shouldn't see Kevin again until almost 2021 at the earliest. You know, like the irony was, even if he didn't stay, like that was the text messages we were sending back and forth. Mine was, I was like, if he's a Warrior or not, I just want KD to still be KD. Mm-hmm. Like, I enjoy watching KD play.
Right.
And so I still want him to still be him. And so one of the things that I'm hopeful for more so than anything else is that the advances in medicine will still allow him to be obviously never the same, but close enough to the same that we don't notice. Because the Achilles is the one thing that we haven't seen anybody successfully regain that bounce, regain that spring.
Correct.
That's the only thing. So,
and as we witnessed, Boogie Cousins barely get over a paperclip at any point in the game.
Right.
And again, y'all should know me well enough to know that I like to acknowledge when I'm right. Money, if you're listening, but when you listen, this is a testament. I'm serious right now. When you look at Boogie, that's an underscore to every single Achilles injury we've ever seen in the NBA. Dudes just don't come back from that.
Nope.
And
not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same.
And not as effective.
Right. They can be effective, but not as effective. I agree with you. I haven't seen that yet.
Right.
Yeah. Like the one cool thing that Kevin got for him is that he was already a jump shooter.
Right. And that's what it's different for him because he does have range and he has the skills to kind of change his game if he needs to.
Right. Like he can adapt and become a middle out shooter. He can
he'll be a good one of those, but without his ability to go by people anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Like,
and then you can put an Ibaka on him or somebody with the height to counter his jump shot. He shoots over a lot of small people who, they're trying to counter his quickness.
Yeah, like at that point, does he essentially become like Sam Perkins?
Carmelo Anthony?
Carmelo, yeah.
Melo is about the closest thing I was going to say.
Carmelo Anthony.
But even in his prime, Melo could still go by people.
Not once in his prime. But imagine we're going to see a Durant that is going to be 31 or is 31.
Yeah.
32 by the time he comes back to play again. 33 by the time he's really adjusted to the injury.
Mm-hmm.
What I also have noticed with Achilles is you don't see the best player until like a year after the injury, after they come back.
Right.
Like it takes them a while to get back into it. So, man, this changed everything. But that being said, I have a lot of respect for the fact that he came, he played.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of respect for the fact that the Warriors didn't cry the game away and they came back. Right. They continued to play. They won. They gave them a chance. And I'm looking forward to Game 6. And I think this has been a great series. And again, I was surprised I thought he tore it the first time.
Yeah, that's what my homie said too. He said, is it a calf injury or is he hiding an Achilles injury?
Yeah, so that's what I thought.
Like,
but when he went down,
if it comes out that his injury last night was directly connected to the first injury, and that by playing, someone knew he could have worsened it, like that's real shitty. Like that's and unless he knew, maybe he knew that, but
but
like if he was playing for legacy, then he was playing for legacy. If that's the case, if he knew, if he was aware, because at the end of the day, he's the one that knows his body, but he also is the one that should know when his competitive nature should have made him want to play. Like, especially with the team against the wall like that, especially with their back on the ropes like that, then he should have wanted. He was the leading scorer. He should have wanted to be able to provide that extra boost that we kept missing.
Yeah.
Which, when you see the reaction of his teammates and how instantly shook, like for all those who ever questioned how much they care for each other or how they feel about Kevin Durant and what he means to the team. Like, I think they're demonstrating that there's a closeness and bond that some people aren't giving him credit for because he's a free agent to be. People are just assuming they ain't getting along and he leaving because there's beef. Man.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Kyle Lowry. Because when Kevin went down and them assholes in Toronto were cheering and waving goodbye and all of that, Kyle Lowry told the whole crowd to shut up.
Shout out,
It was him, Danny Green, Serge Ibaka. All of them told, like, what are y'all cheering for? Stop cheering. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, like, because I went from I can't stand Kyle Lowry to I think Kyle Lowry might be one of my favorite players in like a 4-second swing.
Yeah, but I mean, in defense of those fans, those particular fans who did it, one, they're fans, exactly. Like, for one, we all do dumb shit in the heat of the moment, and when we don't have as much invested. Like, those fans are a chicken. Like the analogy we hear about the chicken and the pig, like how much you got invested. So the chicken gives an egg for breakfast. He's invested, but he ain't invested as much as the pig. So
it's his life,
right? So the fans are chickens, like they're invested a lot, but they don't understand what that means. That's that man's livelihood. It could be over, at that point. So to them, is that, oh man, this gives us a better chance to win. Like in the heat of the moment,
we're gonna win.
I get
that's
that.
all that matters,
right? And so I'm sure most of them, they have a chance to step back. I say this to regular Scott all the time. We hear on his Facebook rants about, I hope somebody from the Warriors get hurt, blah blah blah. And I was like, man,
stop doing that.
Right, I get what you're saying in the moment, because you want, we develop this hate for teams, or like, so I get that as a fan, but take back and realize exactly what you're saying, and I'm sure you'll have a different perspective on it. And then two, and Pooh, this is what I wanted to ask you, because I know you, like back in the days when ACL injuries were considered the be all end all of player injuries, and you had 2 of them.
Yeah.
So for Durant, I think the biggest thing for him, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that when you suffer a major injury like that, and I think we saw this in DeMarcus Cousins as well, and previous players who suffered Achilles injuries and ACL injuries, it's not just that injury, but it's how much the rest of your body starts breaking down when that injury happens.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, everything's connected.
Mm-hmm.
So once you don't have that deficiency on that particular muscle or ligament, then you depend on something else, and it weakens that. Because I've torn my Achilles as well.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I tore my Achilles in 2014, I think. Shooting a jump shot. And, yeah, but I mean, looking back on it, if KD had the information, knowing that if they was real with him and say, hey, you know what, if you play, it's a possibility that you can tear Achilles or tear this or tear X, tear Y, tear Z, whatever. I don't think there's no way that KD plays.
Yeah,
I think there's no way to play, because even when I tore my first ACL, like they told me, oh, it's just a strain, but it was partially torn or very badly strained.
Yeah, I remember.
So if I would have had that, if I would have had the information, no way I would have played. I would have sat out those 6 months or 4 months, and I would have came back doing playoff time, and to help my team. I would have sat those 3 months out and been completely healed. But they don't give that information. They figure you're okay. But at that point, like, he had the best doctors, the best medicine, and to me, there's no way KD knew or had an inkling that it could lead to that, to what happened. No way he would have played with. I don't care legacy, what, he's not getting out there for that, knowing the rest of my career could be over. Like you said, not over, but I'm not KD any longer. Mm-hmm. No way you play for that. No way you play for that.
Yeah, I just think the only thing that makes me think he had to know something is because, one, calf strains don't keep you out that long, and especially if you ain't got no calves. KD ain't got no calves. Now I'm just playing. when he originally got injured, like the way he fell, and his reaction to the injury looked like an Achilles injury.
It did. And the ice pack.
Right, and right
during the game.
That's why
and the location of the ice pack.
Right,
I was shocked when the diagnosis came out. When they calf injury, I was like, calf injury.
Yeah, me too. And the thing is, though, let me tell you, but it wasn't quite down low, like right where the Achilles is, right between the ankle and the heel. It was high, like the high Achilles, and that's exactly where I tore mine at. So it didn't seem like the typical, down low between the ankle and the heel Achilles, but it was high. And I was like, man, that's KD's Achilles, man. He don't, and that's what I'm saying. I'm telling my wife, I'm like, he don't need to go out there. I said, man, I think that's KD's Achilles. He don't need to go out there. But they said calf strain, and of course, all the time he was sitting out, you're saying, hey, man, it's a little more to the story. Right. There's got to be more to the story.
I thought he was done. I knew he was done for the season.
Right.
And I was hoping he sat out. I was hoping he sat out to make sure he was good.
Right. And it's the timing. The timing of it, like we down 3-1, and this is the game you come in. Like, it's not a coincidence that this is the game they cleared him for.
Right.
No, like the one thing I can say that I'm when I hear from medical professionals, they do always give you now there's a chance that this could result in this. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure he just wasn't trying to hear that. Like, if you look at him through his body language, his movement, when he was standing in the hallway for them other 3 games that they were losing, is that he was chomping at the bit to play.
Right.
And I think as soon as he got anything that sounded like, yeah, I can go. Yeah, there's a chance that I tear something. Okay, how much of a chance? Like, we talking like 10, 20% chance?
Yeah.
Talking like a 10% chance?
Yeah, but
you look good.
But I'll tell you this, and this is from experience, from myself and from any other athlete I know. 2 things: never trust an athlete when it comes to telling you whether they're okay to play or not.
Right.
No.
Right.
That's true.
And 2, as a medical professional, especially someone like a team doctor or just as a president or a coach, and sometimes you have to. We talk about this with head injuries all the time in football. Sometimes you have to protect that player from himself.
They did it to Clay, and it was they kept Clay out of that game, and it was the best thing that could have happened.
Right,
because he would have gone out and done something, ripped something up, then it would have been just as cataclysmic, just as awful.
Yeah, but you don't trust that dude when he tell you, "Yeah, coach, I'm good." Hell no, don't trust him.
Nah, you can't.
Like, he wanted to play. And it was evident.
And the only thing that I guess will give me the notion, and I'm gonna piggyback on you gentlemen with this, that KD had to have known something or was told something, or hey, here's a chance, because as soon as it happened, as soon as he hit the court, he has this blank look on his face, like, damn, it happened.
Everybody over.
Yeah.
And that is the look he had on his face.
He was like, damn, it happened. I can't
Like, he
believe
just
it
rolled
happened.
craps. Like,
Yeah, right.
Right.
Like, he was like,
Right.
Like, he just lost his run money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, he rolled the dice and it crapped out on him. He lost all his chips.
Snake eyes. And I was like, damn, it's his Achilles. I already knew it. Then this time he grabs lower. He grabs that space between, his ankle. And I was like, damn, it's his Achilles.
He grabbed his actual, like the Achilles tendon was what he reached for. And as soon as he did, I was, no.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, it's a tragic story, because what you have is, and, based on, if we're going with that, like, he knew, right? He risked it all to win.
Right.
To win.
Like, I know, like, for many, they are like, you just gave up millions of dollars, you dummy. And you gave up KD for the rest of your career, you dummy. But to me, like, as much as I love to win, I love players who risk it all to win. Like,
agreed.
I can't get down with that, though. I cannot.
I get it. I'm just saying me. I get it.
I know, I get it. And I'm just telling you I disagree. But because I think, and actually I know in sports, like especially as fans or people who cover sport, like, and Nick Wright, I heard Nick Wright say this before, and he's absolutely right, is we put more emphasis on guts than brains in sports. And so whether that is LeBron passing the ball in the last minute when everybody wants him to take a shot, or Kawhi the other night when everybody thought he should have taken the shot when he was double teamed. Same thing with KD. If you knew that you would risk your career by coming back, and especially now knowing what we know, I just think at some point your brain has to overrule your guts. I get what you're saying, but
can't go out there, man.
Right.
Can't go out there, man. Can't go out there. No way.
But I guess like why I like it is because you risk your career every time you go out there, right?
That much is also true.
And
that's true.
And when you take that into consideration, right? Every time I go on the court, I risk my life. I risk my life. But here I have an opportunity to help my team do something that I really, 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 really care about. Like, it's in jeopardy right now. I wanna go out with y'all. I'm gonna try. And I just like the attitude. And you're right. Somebody could have been whispering in his ear to be like, dude, you sure you want to do that? Like, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I get it. I mean, I get that, every time you go out there, your career's on the line. I get that. But also another bad analogy, I guess, is there's a reason that they don't let you drive after you have your eyes dilated. Because every time you drive, you're putting your life on the line.
Yeah.
But there are heightened instances where sometimes it's a little more risky. And we ain't going to let you do this.
Right. Not the best analogy, but I get your point.
Right. So and my thing is, KD had to know. He didn't have to have nobody tell him, because it's his body. You listen to your body, especially as an athlete. You listen to your body, and if he listened to, the timing of coming off of a supposed lower calf injury and coming back too soon and tearing your Achilles. There's absolutely no chance his body wasn't telling him something. Like, just calf strains don't, something in him should have said, man, calf strains don't take this long. This is a little low for a calf strain. I still ain't right.
That look on his
ain't
face.
Right.
That look on his face when he's sitting on the court says it all.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, it fucking happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the percentage was they told him.
Right. Yeah.
30%, 60%, 80%. I don't know how much he thought he was risking, but he acknowledges it when he's sitting on that court.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's not admirable. It's admirable for him to go out and risk it all and go. It's admirable as hell. This ain't the smartest thing.
No, it's not the smartest thing.
Yeah, the guts over brains is what exactly happened. Right. And like I said, this one was a roll of the dice he lost.
Yeah, but I think this also it's a drawback to why Kevin Durant is there in the first place. Because they essentially brought in Kevin Durant because they knew they weren't going to be able to consistently beat LeBron wherever he was. And we asked this before: can the Warriors without KD beat a team with a singular dominant force like a Giannis or Kawhi? And we've seen what Kawhi has done to them without their singular dominant force. And this is the reason why Kevin Durant is there now, is because he kind of offsets that. When it's time for one person to be a physically dominant player, KD's the one that can counteract whoever you throw at them.
I think, right. He is the counter to Kawhi. He's the counter to LeBron, like
Giannis, to everybody who's that dude.
But Curry and Clay are an awesome duo. Mm-hmm. And when they're hot and they get the support of role players, I think they are competitive against that one dominant force. And like this, that's why I think this series is so intriguing, because it's an interesting stylistic like competition to me as I'm watching this play out.
Yeah. Well,
And
Clay
I think, go ahead.
I want to say Steph and Clay are outcasts. Like, ain't no Uno, they a duo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, can they each shine individually? Yeah, we've seen them do it, but they don't do it for prolonged periods of time.
Right.
They have to win this series.
Right.
No, I'm talking about individually. Like with Steph, when Clay was held out of that game, Steph realized he had to score for him and Clay, and did.
Yeah.
But the next game when Clay was back, Steph was like, "Oh, thank God," and they both scored the same amount of points that Steph had to score by himself the game before.
Right. Yeah, and we talked about what the potential of Steph's legacy coming into the series, and I think that one game when Clay was out kind of solidified it for me, because as great as Steph was scoring the ball, like it's just so difficult for someone who's not can't take over a game physically to take over a game. Right, exactly.
You're right.
Which is why a lot of little guys aren't mentioned in, those conversations. So as great as Steph, like you look at the numbers, like, man, 47 and 12 and 9, like, but it's like, it still wasn't even like,
it was in a loss.
Right. It was in a loss, and it wasn't even a close loss.
And shout out to Toronto's supporting cast,
right?
Because as good as Leonard's been playing, his supporting cast, like not everybody every night.
Hashtag Van Vliet.
Like wow, Green,
Ibaka,
yeah, Fred, Mitchell, Van Vliet.
Like the best supporting cast I've seen in a while. But what's so amazing about basketball is like next week those same guys might play butt.
Juice.
And that's what I was about to say. If you think about early in the Milwaukee series, that's exactly what they were. People were saying, like, Shaq and Charles wouldn't even say their name on air. None of them. Because
what's going on
they
with
were so
Green?
garbage.
That's what's great about basketball.
Right.
And it's going to change the narrative. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because they played well for the last week or so.
Yeah.
Like, Toronto got a shot to do this shit.
Yep. And what else is going to happen? It's going to get a lot of people paid that don't deserve their money.
Shouldn't get paid.
Like Green, he going to get a crazy contract.
Yeah.
Somebody going to overpay.
That happened. That's why Ibaka making all this money now.
That's true.
Because he bought, he held on to that reputation from so long when he was in Oklahoma City.
That's true.
Shit, J.R. Smith got a contract like that.
That's also true. Like, there's been a bunch of people that just got paid for one great series.
Wow.
Look at Thompson. With the kid named Thompson up in Cleveland. Remember?
Tristan.
Yeah. That kid.
Yeah, the other Kardashian.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the playoffs is where you make your name at, man. That's how you do it.
Yeah, so true.
But on a positive note, we get one more game in Oakland, so Oracle Arena can go out with the last game that it can have. Makes me happy.
Yeah. So, we'll see.
At the end of that game, Klay Thompson was D'ing up Leonard pretty well.
He stayed in front of him pretty well. He was moving his feet.
To see him play, be able to play the whole game. I know they wouldn't do that because they wouldn't want to tire him out like that. But
it's a good change up though.
Match right. I was like, ooh, go ahead, Klay.
And the key in Klay guarding Kawhi is he don't go for the pump fakes. Klay keep his feet, and Kawhi can't get under him. Draymond, as good as he is, he gets a little ahead of himself and start, going for pump fakes and trying to, play hero defense sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, he was making tough shots on Iggy too. Like it wasn't easy, but he was just Kawhi went unconscious.
Yeah.
Like he channeled the Phoenix Force or whatever it is he was using, but he completely went because that 10-0 run, just him at the end of the game, when I'm shocked nobody's brought up the fact that Coach called a random timeout. And that random timeout.
The NBA changed their rules on you can only call
he was going to lose
in the last 3 minutes. He was going to lose it, so he figured he might as well use it. I still wouldn't have done it though.
Right, like at that point
they
were right. Kawhi was cooking with grease, like it was crazy.
Yeah,
he was in a different place.
Right,
technique wise, Leonard is the closest thing to Kobe that I've seen since Kobe. Like I really feel like
that's who he worked out with.
And a lot of his moves, that's who I see on the court. Like, yeah, they got a different mentality. Like,
different
I'm not comparing that. Yeah. But, like, in terms of the skill set, like, it's just how he attacks, I'm like, man, that's Kobe-ish. And so that's his workout partner. He has picked up a lot from Dude because I really see him on the court.
Of all the people that work out with Kobe, Kawhi legitimately looks the most like him when he's playing. Legitimately.
And I knew he was extremely, gifted and talented. But I have to be honest, I didn't have any idea Kawhi was this good. Not what he's displaying right now.
But he was that good in San Antonio at the end.
But I don't recall it because he missed that entire year out.
Yeah. A lot of it was the system.
Right. And all I saw was that explosion he had in Golden State because that pretty much he had that explosion. Then he went out and was injured because the 2 years before that was knocked out, fairly early.
Yeah.
I feel like the system was holding
I didn't see him balling.
Kind of how the Tar Heels were holding Michael Jordan back.
Right.
I feel like San Antonio was holding Leonard back.
But even right before he got hurt, if you remember that series when they were playing against, they was gonna sweep the Warriors in that series.
I remember that, Jay. I remember that. That kid, he was unbelievable.
That's how well he was playing. And the game he got hurt, they was up by 20.
20, 23, I think.
Yeah.
And it changed everything. When he got hurt, it changed everything.
And so I think that's the point. That stretch is where Pop started to realize I got something special. I need to let him be him.
Right.
Unfortunately, the injury happened, but fortunately, he's able to come back from it and still be that player. But yeah, you're right. Like Kawhi's,
special.
He's special, and of course, the personality plays a lot in the why. A lot of people don't know that about him, and don't pay as much attention to it because it don't look the same when you don't scream after all your dunks. And you ain't got a dance routine after every time you block a shot.
That dude is the most Tim Duncan fundamental go back to work dude I have ever seen. Like, what did you do? I'm going to smash on.
Ability to play defense.
Man.
All of that, and he is a lockdown, smart individual and team defender.
Right.
It's
And that's what impressed me most was KD's back. Oh, I'm checking KD.
If he's back, I got him.
Right, and even though KD was getting his, because KD gonna get his against anybody, but the fact that Kawhi didn't shy away from that speaks volumes.
Hey, Kawhi got that pressure, man.
Yeah,
that kid nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said at the beginning, one of the questions was who's the best player in the playoffs. It's been Kawhi Leonard the whole time.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, Durant was a good when Durant was hot for that first series, he was playing really, really well too before he hurt himself. But when you look at the course of this playoffs, without a doubt, it's been Leonard.
Yeah. Go ahead, Boo.
I was about to say, don't get me back on that, Al, about that. But I can't speak when KD didn't play. But I think KD had 5 30-point games and 2 40-point games and a 50-point game.
Yeah.
So KD he put together a lot of games now.
He did.
You know,
So knowing what we know now and know about KD, and what do y'all think this does? Like, if he is never the same KD again, what does this do for his legacy? Because,
First ballot Hall of Famer, no question.
Well, I ain't saying credentials. I'm saying his legacy. Because, and I'm just going to lay it out. Like, what they say about KD. What they say about KD is he couldn't do it on his own. He had to go join somebody else's team. He won 2 championships with them, and a lot of the reasons why people are saying he was going to leave Golden State is so he can win on his own and prove that he can win on his own. If he's never able to do that, does that affect his legacy?
Dope.
I don't think so. Because I think he,
and
while
considering
he left,
that he never achieved what everybody knows what he wanted to achieve, is the unquestioned greatest player on the planet.
No, he never got there.
Mm-hmm.
Unquestioned. He never got unquestioned, but I thought he did earn it in my book.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think he'll go out as somebody who was a winner, somebody who was one of the best players in the league his entire career. He was in the, you know what I mean? Like, he was that guy always. And even when he came to Golden State, he wins with a very talented team, but he's the most talented player on the court when he plays.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate the criticism, but I think his legacy has to include all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like, his legacy should remain untarnished. In fact, I almost want to think that it's bolstered by the guts part of it. Like, if he did go out and lay his, that's what I'm saying. Like, but if you're talking about legacy, we're talking about the average fan. The average fan likes a tough guy.
Okay, so that's what I want to ask. So what's the difference in us as fans saying, go out there and spew your guts all over the place and die for me?
Die.
Right. That's basically. So what's the difference in us saying that and the Toronto fans who were cheering him for being injured? We just on 2 different parts of the fence. It was 2 different sides of the fence.
No, I don't think so. What I think, so when somebody gets hurt, especially if they're competing at a high level, whether or not my team in particular is winning or losing, I have never cheered for somebody being hurt.
I get that. I acknowledge that. But that's what I'm saying.
And I
You're
think
on 2 different
that's
sides
just
of the
an
fence.
individual person.
Right, but but you are cheering for that dude to go out and die for you.
Yeah.
I think here's the difference. And first, let me confess that I do admit, like, while I think it's fucked up, I do admit, as a real passionate fan, I might have cheered. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to look at myself and know how I get down as a fan. Even some of the stupid ass shit I've said in my life. That if it's passionate, I might have been like, for a second, and be like, oh damn, chill, Al. No, I don't.
Look
I
at his
had to
face. He hurt for real.
But I think the difference, to answer your question, Jay, I think the difference is I cheer and I want them to risk it, right? So I am that guy, and I want them to risk it. But I wouldn't celebrate if they lose. So in this case, Durant risked it all and lost. You don't cheer the loss. Like, you want them to go for it, but you don't cheer when they lose, though. That's not right.
It's different, but is one any better than the other is what I'm saying.
No, it's just different. Like, there's not the either position is completely understandable the moment you put yourself in their shoes. Like, if you are cheering for your team to win and you want, by any means necessary, for your team to win its first title, when the best player for the other team goes down, initial reaction is understandable completely. Like, I get that. And for Kyle Lowry, that's what, again, shout out Kyle Lowry for telling them, like, shut up, like, dude's hurt.
Right.
Like, this ain't cool. Like, y'all, what y'all are doing ain't cool right now. Dude's hurt. And then, the crowd clapped a little bit when he got up and was helped off the court.
And they chanted his name.
So, but like Al said, when you're caught up in the emotion of the raw energy Like going to live games in particular, the raw energy in a football stadium is loud, but a basketball stadium, because it's so intimate, you feel the energy all the way through. So if everybody is all caught up, we on a run. Oh, there you go again. And then KD just went down. Oh shit, KD just went down.
Right.
Like, yo, dude, his Achilles, chill.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Right.
my
Like
bad.
it takes somebody that, like, it takes, if the four of us are at a game and Al cheering, I'm gonna be the one to be like, bruh, dude's hurt.
My bad.
Yeah, and I get, like, shit. Steelers playing the Ravens, and
Right.
Lamar Jackson get hurt. I'm gonna be like, oh shit, we're gonna win now. I get that.
Right.
But
Like we win.
That's
now.
all.
That's the
but
first
but
thought.
on the flip side, if going into that game, and I see Ben Roethlisberger walking with a limp before the game, but I'm like, nah, Ben, suck it up, go win this for me.
Yeah,
'Cause
get out there and
wanna-
show me something, son.
Right. That's that's different because it's completely the opposite end of the spectrum. But to me, it's no better. Like
No.
nobody gives a
Yeah,
shit. Nobody gives a
right.
shit that Earl Campbell can't walk right now because they wanted
No.
to see him run through defenses and get his jersey torn off.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about Evander Holyfield can't speak
Yeah, I'm about to say Riddick Bowe. I was going to use
Right.
Riddick Bowe.
because we wanted them to risk it all for our entertainment.
Because are we not entertained?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, right. It is kind of shitty.
The end of the day, we're still like the mob mentality, the Roman Coliseum brought out.
And
is
and that's
still
what I'm
what it
saying.
is.
I'm not preaching because shit, I do the same shit, and that's what just made me think of it. Like, damn, we all do that shit.
All of it.
And we talk shit about Floyd Mayweather running every fight, but shit, he's smarter than everybody we know.
Smarter than everybody.
And getting paid.
And got paid.
I happened to be listening to a podcast earlier today that Lennox Lewis was on. And Lennox Lewis is he still got all his capacity. He still got all his mental faculties.
Right.
But he still went out and risked it every time. Like, their prize fighters are probably the best example of we want them to risk it.
Oh yeah.
Regardless of what happens. Like, the prize fighter is the best, clearest example because we see what happens to them almost immediately once they stop.
Right. And they're named like in boxing, there's no buffer. Like there's no teammates, there's no ball, there's no like court you gotta like there's it's just you and another dude trying to beat your brains in.
Trying to beat the shit
And
out of each
people
other.
have died in the ring.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Bernard
there's no
Hopkins.
timeouts when shit ain't going right. Like it's no buffers at all.
When B-Hop got knocked through the ropes at 52,
Yeah,
like as soon as he got knocked through the ropes, all of us immediately became the, oh, you shouldn't have went out there at 52.
right.
But while he was fighting, we was like, look at Bernard still got it.
Yeah. Or again on the other end of the spectrum, it was all those people. I told you, B Hop wasn't shit. The same people that been saying that for 10 years finally got it right.
Right.
It'll be the same people that's like, when LeBron is shitty, he old and shitty, they're gonna be like, I told you he was overrated. Well, shit, you've been saying it for 12 years. Yeah.
Yo, I'll just give you a little heads up from Nick Central because everybody was talking Kyrie, Durant, who's coming to the Knicks as free agents if anybody comes. They have definitely, as a Knick, it's kind of disappointing he wasn't even on our squad. It's just kind of like,
all right.
Dang, if he really wanted to come to New York, like people were saying, like, there goes that.
Yeah, and I know it sucks for Kyrie because Kyrie like, fuck, now I got to go back to Bron.
Right, because now
KD's gonna be his Bron.
Right, where he going?
Right. He like,
A lot of
Brooklyn
dominoes.
by myself.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Durant stays in Golden State now, honestly.
Yeah.
And maybe a little less money, whatever. But that to me, that's almost his best option.
Yeah, it is.
Man.
And he won't have to beat KD as we know him in order to win.
Right. That's probably his best option.
Well,
Like I was waiting for the postseason to happen anyway, just because I need to see what happens to this team that I have now grown to love and seen win, and Really, I appreciate the heart for the final blows by the Splash Brothers. Just for them to finish the game, win it, leave, and everybody immediately leave the court without fanfare. Let's just go check on Kevin.
Yeah, and this could go one of two ways. Like, this could inspire them to push this to 7 and possibly win this series, or it could just take the air completely out of them.
Because when it happened, it certainly deflated them.
Right.
But they
right.
home. They home.
Yeah.
So the fans should give a lot of that.
Yeah, and Kevin will be in a box somewhere, like hopefully not even close to the court, just sitting in a luxury box watching the game. We all know he's here. He'll be acknowledged.
Just keep him out of the arena. They might clear him to play. We don't want that shit to happen.
Hey,
we just need you to shoot free throws, yo. Just
right.
shoot some free throws.
Every technical.
Oh, man.
Don't shoot all the free throws. Just shoot them all.
Yeah, that was that.
Yeah. Jay, you ready to hit us over the head with some trivia, man?
So, I'm going to be honest. I had to get the simplest. I had to take one of these pages from your books. I have a list of heavyweight champions in front of me.
Okay.
And so we're just going to go around the horn. And in the moment somebody doesn't name somebody on the list of heavyweight champions, then that's that. Now, when I'm mentioning the list of heavyweight champions, I am starting from 1963, which is when the WBC was organized. So from 1963 on, the heavyweight champions.
Okay.
So if we're not talking IBF or
no IBF, no NISAC,
CFL,
no IBU, none of that. Like, you know what? The NISAC is still around, or from 65, so it'll count, I guess, because the NISAC ended up becoming the WBC eventually. Like, it just sort of folded into the WBC.
Right.
But we're looking at, as of right now, the WBC, IBF, WBO. Those are the ones that are most commonly associated as the heavyweight champion. Like, if you had all three, then you had all three.
All right. Yeah.
So, who won last week? I know Al beat me, so I guess he goes first.
I won last week. I beat Money.
How you win last week? You beat Money. I didn't do nothing last week. I think I said I know Al beat me.
Yeah, Al beat you. Al go first.
So Al goes first.
So I'll take Ali.
All right. We will take Ali.
Take him off the list.
I'll go Joe Frazier.
We will take Joe Frazier.
Larry Holmes.
We will take Larry Holmes.
George Foreman.
We will take George Foreman.
Now, if they were champions twice, can we name them again or only once?
No, just name them once. Because Ali had a second and third reign.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you get brownie points for being able to tell me anybody that like unified them or did something cool. But other than that, no, not really.
Brownie points.
Cool.
I'll take Mike Tyson.
Right. All right. Mike is in there.
All right. I'll go. Well, shit. You gonna go Mike? I'm going Buster Douglas.
James Buster Douglas is accepted.
Let's go with Evander Holyfield.
Also accepted.
Well, shit. You're going Holyfield. I'm going Riddick Bowe.
Riddick Bowe is also accepted.
Then I'll go Lennox Lewis.
Ox gotta be brought up.
You going Lennox Lewis? I'm going Oliver McCall.
Oliver McCall is on this list.
Ooh. I'll go Leon Spinks.
Good one.
All three of his teeth is on this list.
I'm just naming dudes that beat the dude that ass says. I'm going Ken Norton.
Right. Who did you go with?
Ken Norton.
That is absolutely correct.
Sonny Liston.
Sonny Liston is on this list.
Okay, so question.
Go
you
ahead.
said you were starting in 1969.
I said I was starting in 1963, which is where Sonny Liston took over.
Okay. I thought you were saying 69.
No. Like, if you want to name the ones earlier than that, you can, but there's not. I'm technically starting at 63. Like, Sonny Liston is the one where I started.
Shit. Evander Holyfield.
Already been named.
Oh, okay. Trevor Burbick.
Wait. That's not an automatic disqualification?
That's a fascinating question, and because I didn't address it earlier, I'm going to have to go with no.
I appreciate the fact that you
I appreciate your negligence, sir.
Right. Played good old-fashioned missed call on that one.
Hell no. I'll go with Tim Witherspoon. Is he on your list?
He most certainly is in 1984.
Yeah. I mean,
Frank Bruno.
Oh.
Frank Bruno. Hang on. Give me. Oh, yeah, there we are. Yep, we're here. Frank Bruno's good.
Frank Bruno. Did anybody say Michael Moore? Is he on the list?
I said Michael Moore, and yes, he is on the list.
That's a good one. Asim Rahman.
Hasim Rahman.
Was he
also
on
the list?
Yeah.
He most certainly was a heavyweight, and actually the heavyweight champion twice.
Right.
Wow. Okay. All right. My bad. I'll go with what's that white boy name? Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko.
All right. I'll go with
Vladimir.
Klitschko.
Okay. I take Vladimir. Very good. You give him
that's
brother.
How you do. You come right after the brother like that.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to get interesting.
Right.
Wilder. Deontay Wilder.
Deontay Wilder is accepted.
Who did he beat the title? Who took the title? Bermain Stiverne.
I'm mad that you remember that dude's name. You are absolutely correct.
All right.
Now it's getting light.
Right.
Y'all said Bo, right? Really, Bo?
You did.
I got one in the tank. I'm hoping you don't get this.
Is Tommy Morrison. Was he champ?
Give me a moment. Tommy Morrison.
Damn. I don't know.
Only on
Still
Rocky was he
scrolling. No, Tommy Morrison is not on the list. So nobody's gonna name.
Well, I'm glad he's not on the list because that's not who I was guessing. I was just asking a question.
Oh,
That wasn't my final answer. I was just curious.
I've been back the whole time. This guy. Come on. Jay, what you got for the win?
I think he was champion because I'm pretty sure he was. I was hoping this dude was going to be the next Tyson. I was wrong. But Samuel Peter.
Give me a moment, because now I must scroll. All right, so in the case of both of y'all just being wrong back to back,
Damn, Samuel Peter was never champ.
never champ. Never champ.
So I get back in it.
Yeah.
Go with Bone Crusher Smith. Was he a champ?
He was a champion.
Hey.
What was the dude's name? The fucking Russian dude. Moskev.
Oleg Moskayev. Accepted.
Is Joshua, Anthony Joshua?
I was trying to figure out why ain't nobody bring him up. He got knocked the fuck out a couple weeks ago. So, yep.
Shit, in that case, Andy Ruiz.
Andy Ruiz.
Damn, you took my final answer. That's it. I'm done. I don't have nobody else.
You pass?
Yeah, I do. I ain't got nobody else.
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury.
Oh, I forgot about it.
And that, for the win, has done it.
Yeah.
You left out all of the Uzbekistanis and the Syrians.
Right.
Couple of Ukrainians, one Nigerian, Samuel Peter. Shout out to Nigeria.
I said Samuel Peter.
Oh,
that's what kept out in the game. Yeah.
Oh well, then I just can't read. Then yeah, you were right. I apologize. You won twice now. Congratulations.
Right, I get to go twice.
You won two
times. Twice in a row. Then
a couple of people that you guys left off. Roy Jones Jr. was a heavyweight champion for a moment.
He was, yeah.
Let's see.
I totally forgot that.
Completely forgot about that one. Lucas Brown, the Australian, the Aussie.
Did James Toney ever win a championship in the heavyweight?
I don't know that he won a heavyweight. I didn't see him on this list.
I know he started getting fat at one point, and he was beating.
He did start getting fat.
Like huge.
Yeah.
Did either of y'all mention Larry Holmes?
Yeah, Al did.
Yes, I did.
All right. We got Spinks, Norton, Frazier. I would have actually accepted Cassius Clay as well, by the way.
Oh, wow. Okay. Was Michael Spinks have a heavyweight championship?
Michael
Yeah.
Spinks.
Yes, he was.
I know Leon was, and
I
I feel like I was reading Michael's name as well.
When Mike beat him, he took a belt from him.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was a champ.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, there's lots of them, guys. Yeah, Michael Spinks, I got him in 87. That's exactly correct.
Right.
But like I said, if you wanted to go back, I would have accepted Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey, Max Schmeling. I would have accepted them.
Rocky Marciano.
I would have accepted Rocky. I would have accepted
There they go.
You know, Floyd Patterson. I would have accepted Floyd. But Sonny Liston was technically where I started.
Gotcha.
But yeah, good job, gentlemen. Jay, congratulations.
Appreciate it. Well, you host it, man. What you got for me this week for your pardon shot?
Pardon shots. Oracle Arena stand up. Make some noise for Game 6. Get yourself involved. Be all of the energy that Kevin couldn't be because he can't play. Kevin, obviously, I wish you a speedy recovery. KD, I hope you get all of the stem cells and the stuff that's illegal. I hope you get all that stuff. I hope they send you out of the country and you come back later bigger, stronger. Right. I hope you come back bigger, stronger, and faster. And you're the first time that a torn Achilles has turned into, how is he better? I hope you're the one. You feel me? But Oracle Arena, like this is, I've been to that place a bunch of times. It is truly an atmosphere that is hard to describe to people because the building is so old and decrepit. But but when you're in there, like that energy, that like I said, a basketball arena is a different energy than a football stadium.
It's like the Garden with a winning team.
Yeah. Like, it's just electric. Like, that's just all it is to it. Like, I've also seen the new stadium, which is gorgeous, and down the street from where I grew up in San Francisco. Like, right across the street from Packville Park, actually, or AT&T Park, as it's called. But,
hold up, they're moving to San Francisco?
They're moving to right across the bridge from where the Giants play.
Wow.
Yep. So the bridge will be in the background of all their shots. So they can actually treat whenever they do the blimp shots, they always show you the top of Oracle and then they fly the blimp over San Francisco. But now they will actually be in San Francisco again for, I want to say, the third time in their existence. They used to play at USF and they used to play at Kezar Pavilion. But anyway, good luck, the Warriors. I'm glad that y'all took that shot and won that game for them. So my parting shot is directly at Regular Scott. Because I don't be appreciating your attitude.
Dang.
And as Regular Scott would say, shots fired.
Yeah.
Okay. Al, what you got for me?
Man, all I got is have a good week. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, all the dads out there. And yeah, man, be safe and see y'all next week.
No doubt.
Yeah, to the fathers. What up, Chebo from the Skull? What up, Vince Shaw?
No doubt. Yeah, shout out to all the fathers, man. Al, happy Father's Day. Pooh, happy
What up,
Father's Day.
Joe?
All the fathers on the network. Scott, by the time y'all hear this, Scott may be a father. His baby's due any day now. First kid, so happy first Father's Day to you, Scott.
All right.
Happy birthday to your pops, Jay, West Coast pops. Happy Father's Day.
West Coast pops.
Chebo from the Skull. What up, Brett?
Yeah, shout out to Magic Johnson, man. I know people were in their feelings about Magic leaving the Lakers abruptly, but shout out to Magic for establishing a scholarship at South Carolina State University. $2.5 million scholarship. He said one of the reasons he was leaving the Lakers is that he wanted to get back to being more involved in the community and his philanthropy. So he's taking action on that. So shout out to you, to Magic Johnson.
Do you happen to know if part of that scholarship is, and when you're done, we will pay all of your student loans?
Right. I don't know. I hope so for their sake. Shout out to Magic and shout out to Dr. Dre for who also took some heat when he donated an entire building to the University of Southern California. So shout out to Dre for donating was it $10 million to Compton High School. So for their arts and performance department.
That's what's up.
So
yes.
shout out to Dre. So
Hell
yeah. So kudos to you guys, for both of you, for putting your money where your mouth is and reaching back continuously. So that's all I got. Pooh had to go handle some family business, so hope all is well with you. Money, we hope you are off the clock and you're at home. Yeah.
If you're not rocking with Defy Life,
what's your life?
What's your life about?
Right. So, but yeah, y'all, this has been episode 111 of the Defy Life podcast. I'm J.R. Glymph, Alvin Glymph, West Coast J. We'll talk to y'all next week. Until then, Defy Life.
Defy Life.
Defy Life, y'all.
Hey, Siri.
Hey, how may I help you?
Play the Relationship Status Podcast.
Playing the Relationship Status Podcast.
I would ask him, like, what are you doing? Where are you going with this? What are you trying? And he really didn't have, like, a real answer.
Okay.
So I didn't feel like we were going to be compatible later on down the line.
I think that goes back to something I've often heard and think myself, that men date women thinking they're never going to change, and women date men
Thinking that they are.
thinking that they can change them.
Relationship Status. New episode every Monday at 12 noon on Defy Life Network.